So we'll do the next Mamer. Starts with Yeshaya Siman Yud Aleph, Pasuk Zayin, Perik Yud Aleph, Pasuk Zayin. Arya, Kebakar, Yאכל Teven. This is the 12th Mamer in the Likutei Torah on this parsha. So the Mamer basically is a follow-up to the previous Mamer. Yeshaya Siman Yud Aleph. This is the 12th, but that's follows the 11th. All these Maimorim here are sort of like Biurim, follow the previous Maimor. This is a pasuk over there. It says in Yeshaya, in Perik Yud Aleph, pasuk Zayin, it says Arya Kebakar Yאכל Teven. See, the lion will become like the bakar, like the cattle. He'll eat straw. Today, a lion eats meat or it eats other animals, but in the time of the future, when Mashiach will come, the Arya will also eat straw, meaning he'll become basically like a tame animal. So, the Rebbe is going to explain that right now, we have by the Mizbeach, it had the shape of an Arya, it had the shape of a lion. And the lion consumed the korbanos. So when you brought a korban on the Mizbeach, it went through the Arya. Basically, as we will explain, there needs to be a physical korban, the gashvis, the avoida, to relate to impact in the spiritual level, to be elevated, needs to go through the level of Arya. But the future, we won't need the Arya because it'll be in such a high madrega that we want. The Arya will actually eat the straw. We'll see. He's going to explain towards the end of this Maimon. Hine kvar nizbayer, we already explained. Kisa'oidoi bechinas shiur hay. It's the amount that comes from the hay. Shu shiur midu hanimshach bechinas hay. That is the measure. It's an amount and a measure that comes from the level of hay. The level of hay, that's the level of the Malchus. Shu b'chinas ruach piv yisbarich, which is the level of the ruach piv. That's the hay. The level of u'maichel behema, and this is the food of the behema. That's this se'oira. That's why shiur hay is the maichel behema. What does it mean? The food of which behemoths? Pirush hashpoas hamalachim. This is what goes to the malachim. What goes to the malachim is the soira. They eat sort of this soira. That's the hamshacha. And nikroim b'shem behemoths v'chayis. They are called behemoths and chayis. What do we see? Ukediksiv pnei Arya pnei shor by the merkava. So there's all chayis. What happens from this hashpoa of the malachim that they get from this soira? From the level of Malchus that they get from the Ruach Piv, the Pasuk says they burn like fiery flames, ba'ava v'yira, with love and fear, loymar, to say, Kodesh, u'baruch, v'yimloich, v'chulu. So this flow, Shem Malachim, tolu b'avedis Yisrael l'mata, bizman beis hamikdosh, that hinges on to give this level, to give down to the malachim, to this hashpoah, that hinges on them. And he brought the case in the Eish Shel. So basically, we had the Eish Shel that the Yidden brought on the Mizbeach to bring down this hashpoah. Hine Eichel Mailo Beis Hamikdosh Hoyo B'dmus Arya. So the fire of above the Beis Hamikdosh that consumed the korban had the image of a lion. It was a lion that eats the korbanos. Ein Zer Chelik Aleph Davov and this. Bo'inyan. K'moedi Yisrael B'zoyar. What does it mean? Why do we need a lion to eat the korbanos? Why is the fire in the shape of a lion? So it says, the idea is like it says in the Zohar, And what he's trying to get at is that over there was Bidmus Aryeh. But in the future, Aryeh Kebakar Yechal Teven, the Aryeh will no longer eat the karbonis. The karbonis is also the level that the Aryeh, that the fire consumes. But then it was Yechal Teven, and it's not going to eat anymore on the Mizbeach. So like right now, what is the Aryeh on the Mizbeach, to understand that? So he says like this. It says in the Zohar, Shekama Malochim Memunim ala Tefillah. First, we're going to talk about davening. Davening is not mamish karbonis, that's b'mekoim karbonis. We'll see the way it works by the davening, and we're going to apply it to the actual karbonis. Shekama Malochim Memunim ala Tefillah. Shemekablim umaylim chulu. That we have angels that take the prayer that we daven and they bring it up to Hashem. Why do we need the angels to bring it up to Hashem? Why can't we just daven and go to Hashem? It's impossible for the voice and the physical speech of the person to go up above. It cannot be included in the Ein Sof. You need the Malachim to take up the prayers to bring it up to Hashem. Why do we need that? Because a physical voice, to connect it to a spiritual level, to bring it up and make it spiritual, you need the Malachim to transform it, to transmit it, to bring it up above. Just like in Moshe Yevshev Liyis Islapshus Hanefesh Beguf Adam, you can't have the spiritual dress up in the human body. It needs intermediary. The Hainu. How does the soul come down? The dam is the soul. So the spiritual dress up in the dam. So v'gam hadam atzmei gashmi. So what is the blood? The blood is also physical. The heat of the blood. He brings up spiritual smoke. The smoke becomes less, and when you heat up the steam, the edim, that's the steam, this spiritual steam. So basically, for the soul, which is spiritual, to connect to the body, which is physical, there has to go some transformation through by this through the blood. That's the way the powers and the soul expands. As it's written in the Kuzari in Mamer Siman Chovav. So likewise, by way of example, you can't have the Ein Sof dressed up when you say the tefillah. So So I guess we're talking about elevating from the Gashmis to the Ruchnis, but this is talking about making the Gashmis Ruchnis. In other words, the Malachim bring down the Ein Sof into the Daven. B'hainu, shehem kelim le'ein Sof baruch hu animshach b'hem. The Malachim are vehicles to the Ein Sof light which extends in them into the Malachim, and these Malachim bring in the Ein Sof of them into the letters, into the words, into the davening, into the koil. The Ein Sof that extends in my angels, he impacts and is them as he wishes. So, in other words, they're not a separate entity. They're by the Ein Sof infused them. Tamid Mesheshis Breishis Hem Emdim B'Madrega Achas Kifishiru Gvul Shenigul B'Hem Eirin Sobaruch. So they are always standing there in the same level from the time of creation as the Eibishter wanted them from the Chatchila, and they're always there. So basically, he's saying, there's no Hashem and a Malach. It's the Malach, it's Hashem there. Because whatever Hashem put into the Malach, that's what it is. You have the Ein Sof and the Malach. And that Malach is going to transmit that to the coil, to the davening. He's going to elevate it. But the Malach itself is not an entity. He's just the expression of the Ein Sof. Lochen Omer HaMalach He says, I'm going to return to Abraham and Sarah is going to have a son, right? He says, Shoiv Oshub Eilecha. How does he know? He doesn't have the. So he says, it's like Hashem saying, it's not that he's saying, he doesn't know the Malach what's going to be, but the Eibishter is saying that. It's as if Hashem is speaking by himself. So Hashem is telling him, because it's Hashem going to return. I'm going to return, meaning not the Malach is going to return. Hashem is going to return to him. Hashem is going to return because the Malach is just saying what Hashem, this Hashem speaking through him. The King see Bahogor of Atikra Hashem Adover Allah. She called to the name of Hashem that speaks to her. Hashem didn't speak to her. It was a Malach that spoke to her. But the Malach becomes the Shem Hashem because he's not a separate entity. The Hashem is in the Malach. While the Fi she'einon elo shachos b'chinas ein sof. Because these are just merely, it's the Eibishter, the extension of the level of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, she'nimshach b'chama madreges malachim v'kel v'kel m'shonim, that is extended into various different steps of malachim and various different vessels. V'ayim ha'shakos b'zeh v'pashas kisis v'dirumaschos soyim shmel tachs l'roishi. V'ayim b'geres ha'kodesh b'soifa yitzef divra maschel lahovin ma'shakosuf b'pri etzchayim v'soif divra maschel lahovin im rebina. And this is also the meaning we say in Pirkei Avos. You buy, if you do one mitzvah, you acquire one defense. You require that malach that brings down into the Ein Sof. That by doing the mitzvah you create a malach. Why? Bahainu. Because when he does this one mitzvah, so then through his it comes from above. Hashem, you do the mitzvah below, Hashem gives you from above, just like we say Kemoi, we say Hayeshev V'Shayne, the Mishnah says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shayne Kenegda. You're learning, Hashem learns opposite you. You do a mitzvah, Hashem is mamshech you. What is Hashem mamshech you? One malach means you get down in sof b'chinas madrega oisa a mitzvah. You get into the level of that mitzvah, which is either whatever the mitzvah involves, b'chinas madrega chochma, whether it's in level chochma b'chesed. Cool. What does this mean? It's a malach. Mamshochazu u'b'chinas malach. The chesed b'machne michoil. It's a malach chesed machne michoil. So you get the hamshocha into the malach. So you do a mitzvah. The Eibishter gives you hamshocha that brings down the Ein Sof into the mitzvah. Vinei kasherim shechlamata b'malachim hamshochas Ein Sof Baruch Hu. When these malachim, the agents, they get down the Ein Sof Baruch Hu l'kabel hatfilos la'aloisam. So they get the tfilos and they elevate them. So then, Hareheim Nichlolish Ba'isa Koyach V'Oir. So they themselves, the Malachim, are included in that power and the light. And then the tefillah can go even higher. The Shom Gavei Malgavei higher and higher. V'ayim HaShekos Min Yazal Posam Yofa B'Mayich Ben Olim V'Parsha B'Keid V'Mas Nerchaneke Mitzvachot. So this is with the davening, which corresponds to the korbanos, which means that we have all these malachim and this infusion, the Ein Sof in them. So hinegama korbanos asmam gamkin kanal. So also the korbanos himself. So korbanos em in abokor, they korbanos at the bok bnei shur shumas smol. So it is the small. So you have to get the ox, which is being sacrificed on the mizbeach, which is the left, to be included in the Arya, which is from the right. V'tzorich la'achlolo smola b'yamina. You need to include the left to the right. B'chinas pnei Arya layamin. The Arya is on the right, and the ox is at the left. So we want to include the left into the right by having the shape of the Arya, the fire on the Mizbeach, consuming the shoyer that's being brought as a korban from the left into the right. So that's the idea of an image of an Arya. But in the Mishkan of Moshe over there, it was not in the level Arya. Why? Because over there it says the fire went from Hashem. It didn't go through no malach. It didn't go through Arya. It just came down straight. I'm a Shekosta Poskenesh Yoyer, the Seder Maskal Shuva Yisrael, the Pirish of Sama Forens Fosenu, and I'm Bezer Say Parshas Mishpatim Daf Kufay Madalev, Reish Parshas Vayelach Daf Reish Pegimel Beis, Parshas Azinu Daf Reish Tzadichet Beis. Okay, so there was no malach in Timir. In the Osid Ksiv, in the Haskil Avdi Yorum V'Nisav Government. In regards to Mashiach, he says that my servant is going to be so great, he's going to be raised above, very high. I feel Mechanis Moshe is going to be higher than Moshe. So therefore, V'Tiya Mailas Umadreges HaNeshomis, and the levels of the Neshomis at that time is going to be Hagbel Maila Ma'od Mechanis Malachim. It's going to be higher than the Malachim. As we just learned in today's Parshat, we learned in Parshas Balak, Moshe Kosov, that the Malachim will ask the Yidden, what is Hashem doing? So in other words, the Malachim, Rashi brings down the Chibosah Shel Yisrael, that the Malachim will come to ask the Yidden what Hashem is saying. So it means that the Yidden will be in a higher Madrega than the Malachim. V'omer Azal, Sham Malachim yu chutz lemechitzas haneshamas, ache yishlu mehem mapol kel. They're going to have to ask the neshamas, what is Hashem doing? Meaning that they're going to be in a high Madrega. And another statement we had, another statement our sages tell us, Asidim tzadikim sheyemru malachim v'neim kodesh. The malachim will say kodesh before them, which means that they'll be higher than the malachim, because the malachim will say kodesh to the tzadikim. So therefore, Valkein leiti halos hakarbonos vashpos hasoiranal. So therefore, the elevation of the korbanos, and to bring down the level of soira from Machs Aidei, B'chinas Arya, through the level of Arya, Ki Ma'idei Tzadikim Ba'atzma. It's going to be through the Tzadikim himself. They're not going to need the Arya to connect. I mean, we're talking about this is by Mashiach, which is greater. Even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have the Arya. This is going to be even a higher Madrega. Commission Kosov Kodesh Yisrael Hashem Reishis Tva'osoi. That they themselves are going to be in that level of the Tzvuah. That the level of Tzvuah and Soirim is going to be in the Yidden themselves. They're not going to need to be mamshich to the Malachim, to bring down, so to get to the Yidden. They're going to be on that higher Madrega, Mekabel of Malchus directly. And the Arya, which is now is the intermediate, is going to be equal to the Bokar. He's not going to eat the korban that comes from the Bokar. And they're both going to eat the Teven. They're going to add the hashpo that comes from the Soirim. But not the Soirim itself. In other words, the flow, the Soirim themselves, I guess that's the level of the Bnei Yisrael at the time. But the Shponish Soirim is going to be together, the Arya with the Soirim. All right, it needs a little, like I said, this is still like only